With me this evening, to my left, is Mr. Brent Marshall, our Chief Administrator Officer, who will be responding to questions that the town has received over the past week or so. To use a hockey analogy, this is a hockey stick. This is social distancing. So hopefully you'll understand 2 meters or 6 feet apart. I'd like to begin with a few remarks and importantly, extend a sincere thank you to all of the essential workers and volunteers in our community who keep us safe, healthy, and supplied with all the necessities. I'd also like to speak to the number of the COVID cases in our community. And first of all, those who have been diagnosed, we wish them all a very speedy recovery, and for them and their families, because we know they're going through a lot of difficulty. I know that people are concerned about the spread of the virus, and in particularly the rise in the numbers. And we've seen tremendous rises in the number when you think that just 2 weeks ago Friday, 2 weeks ago tomorrow, we had 6 cases. And now today it's 110. I've received numerous inquiries with people asking, why is there such an increase? And is this occurring in our long-term care homes? First, let me tell you, we get information from the Halton Regional Public Health. If you go to their website, you will get the data, and the public health is responsible for collecting and reporting the COVID-19 cases. And you can register to receive the surveillance report, which summarizes cases in Halton region. If you look at the ages, you will see that it's not primarily people in long-term care. They have the COVID virus. This means it's a community spread. Yes, we did have a huge outbreak in the Mountain View residence, but it is also, when you look at the ages, they're primarily between the ages of 30 and 60 is the highest majority in our community. This also means that we must be vigilant in adhering to the direction of the medical officer of health. I've also been asked by people, why isn't the public health reporting by community and identifying whether they're occurring between Acton and Georgetown or the rural area, or instead of just saying Halton Hills? Let me read to you what the MOH has said. And I can assure you, I've asked the medical officer of health on a few occasions why this is. And I'll read this exactly as it was said to me in a letter. Some people are asking, why are we not mapping COVID-19 cases in the community? Similar to the rest of the Greater Toronto Area, Halton region is experiencing community transmission of COVID-19. This means that residents need to be vigilant and follow recommendations for physical distancing and hand hygiene, no matter where they're located in Halton region. Providing a map of the COVID-19 cases by neighborhood could provide a false sense of security and may suggest to residents that they do not need to take precautions in areas that do not yet appear to have confirmed cases on the map. Due to delays in symptoms onset, testing and reporting, as well as the possibility of cases who don't develop any symptoms at all, there may be cases in areas that would be represented on the map. Also, cases may visit many places in our community before becoming infectious. A map showing where they live would not necessarily show all areas they have visited. As cases recover from their symptoms, the map would quickly become outdated. Please be assured that for specific places where cases are known to have occurred, example in a workplace or a long-term care facility, Halton Region Public Health provides advice on proper sanitation to reduce the spread of the infection. I hope that the message from the medical officer of health makes it clear that we all have to do our part. And if you see someone not doing their part or violating the rules, you can report them to the COVID-19 hotline. Halton Region will triage the calls and dispatch as appropriate to Halton Hills bylaw enforcement. This information is also on our website on the COVID page under contact information. And remember that the province set the rules based on the best advice from the medical officer of health. And right now, it is no more than 5 people getting together, and of course, social distancing. So that's one of the major things that we have to look at. I also want you to know that I've been in touch with our Georgetown Hospital on a daily basis, and I want to read this letter that was provided to me. A lot of reading here. Update from the Georgetown Hospital. We are all experiencing a unique and unpredictable global event that is creating a great deal of uncertainty and anxiety in our lives. At Halton Healthcare, the health and safety of our patients, staff, physicians, and community continues to be a top priority as we work together to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. We have so much to be thankful for at the Georgetown Hospital. Our staff and physicians are well prepared to respond to the crisis. We have a comprehensive corporate COVID-19 pandemic response plan that guides our daily operations. The dedication I see every day in our staff, physicians, and leadership to compassionately care for our patients and each other is truly amazing. While this pandemic has affected many of the hospital's normal operations, I want to reassure you that we continue to safely care for those who need us. Our emergency department is open 24/7 to care for you in the event of an urgent, life-threatening illness or injury or medical or surgical. Inpatients continue to be safely cared for in our hospital. It is times like these that remind us that we're all connected. Our community has surrounded us and offered unwavering strength, resilience, and care. We have received an outpouring of support from our community, including donations of food, coffee, funding of supportive programs, and much-needed equipment. Perhaps some of the most inspiring messages have come from children who have created a special rock garden in front of the hospital with inspirational messages for us, in addition to the drawings and notes of encouragement around our hospital and windows throughout the town. On behalf of the staff and physicians at Georgetown Hospital, I would like to thank you for doing your part by staying home as much as possible and practicing physical distancing while out. Stay safe, stay distanced, and wash your hands again. Cindy McDonald, Chief Operating Officer at the Georgetown Hospital. Now I'm going to turn this over to staff as we're going to feature a different topic and something that's very important that we're going to be doing tonight, and we hope you find it very informative. This week our focus will be on the economic development and the work that the town is doing to support local businesses. After the presentation, we'll have some questions and some of the to economic development, and we'll have some for Mr. Marshall and I as well. I would now like to introduce Aaron Kaiser, who is our Senior Economic Development Officer, who will now give us a presentation. Welcome, Aaron.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So good evening. My name is Erin Kaiser, and I'm the Senior Economic Development Officer I'm the Senior Economic Development Officer in the Economic Development, Innovation, and Culture at the town of Halton Hills. Thank you for the opportunity to provide an update on actions being taken by the town to assist our business community. The town is very much aware of the challenges that businesses, both urban and rural, are facing as a result of COVID-19. The success of Halton Hills' businesses is key to the town's ability to deliver the services that our residents and businesses rely on. To assist, the town continues to take proactive, decisive, and coordinated action. Halton Hills has been a leader in taking many of the needed steps. These actions are being undertaken with cross-departmental and stakeholder collaboration. As an example, to date, these actions have included the formation of the Economic Support and Recovery Task Force. This task force was formed in collaboration with the Halton Hills Chamber of Commerce and the Acton and Georgetown Downtown Business Associations. Its first official meeting occurred earlier today but discussions with key stakeholders have been ongoing for some time. The task force's main purpose is to develop and implement initiatives to assist businesses in the immediate and longer term. It is also to expedite Halton Hills' economic recovery after COVID-19. To accomplish this, the task force will develop and implement an economic recovery plan. The task force is co-chaired by Mayor Bonnet and the Chief Administrative Officer, Brent Marshall. Membership includes Councillor Fogel, Councillor Somerville, Senior Economic Development staff, including myself, and the Director of Economic Development, Innovation and Culture, the General Manager of the Chamber of Commerce, and the managers of the downtown Acton and Georgetown business improvement areas. Additional members, including individual businesses, will be added as needed. The task force has 7 main goals. They are to continue to engage the business community, coordinate communication, collect and analyze local economic data, minimize economic impacts of COVID-19, and develop actions to support long-term economic recovery. Advocate to other levels of government and develop and implement the economic recovery plan. Work of the town's task force will leverage the recently announced Provincial Jobs and Recovery Committee. The town has also been a leader in announcing measures to provide financial supports. On March 25th, the property tax relief was announced for businesses and residents. Penalties and fees have been removed for those who need to defer payments between April and June. More details are available online at haltonhills.ca. The town has also issued communication encouraging landlords and tenants to discuss alternative rent payment options. To assist with hydro costs through Halton Hills Hydro, time of use electricity rates are automatically charged at off-peak rates. This applies to households, farms, and small businesses. Earlier today, the Prime Minister announced the Canada Emergency Commercial Rent Assistance. More details are anticipated, but the program will help small businesses in covering their rents for April, May, and June. These and other supports are being continuously added to investhaltonhills.com. A dedicated webpage has been created to provide businesses with relevant information in one convenient location. New information is added frequently, and I encourage businesses to visit investhaltonhills.com. To engage businesses and gather information on local impacts of COVID-19, the town launched a business survey. Survey results will help shape the work of the Economic Support and Recovery Task Force. I thank all the businesses that have already completed the survey. I also encourage those that have yet to do so to please complete the survey as soon as possible. The survey will close on Monday, April 20th. To date, nearly 200 businesses have already completed it. Although the survey does not close until Monday, I did want to provide just a few brief highlights of the results thus far. A more detailed report will be developed after the survey closes. This figure shows the respondents by size of business. Businesses of various sizes have responded, with the majority, 58% of those, are those having 4 or fewer employees. The responses arrive from a wide range of industries and business types. The top 5 that have responded include businesses in health and wellness, construction, consulting and professional services, retail, and food and beverage. Responses were also received from the real estate sector, manufacturing, arts and culture, hospitality, and agricultural businesses. Businesses indicated that they are most concerned about financial impacts, cancellations of events and purchase orders, impacts on their employees, difficulty in accessing funding, and lack of business continuity plans. To start getting ready for our recovery, a number of actions are either already underway or being explored. Examples include the formation of the Economic Support and Recovery Task Force, which I highlighted earlier, the continued development of new economic development and tourism strategy. This strategy will respond to the current COVID-19 situation while also continuing to position Halton Hills as a prime investment destination. The town will also be posting a series of webinars to assist businesses in various sectors, including agriculture and food and beverage. A comprehensive business retention and expansion program is being launched to help businesses grow in Halton Hills. Work continues on implementing the town's foreign direct investment strategy to attract new investment and jobs. To assist the arts and culture and tourism sectors, a brand new tourism website is being developed. The town is also leading the way in developing an innovative business concierge program. Once launched, it will assist key investors in locating in Halton Hills, bringing new jobs and non-residential assessment. Town staff continue to assist on key investments so that they are in a position to create jobs in Halton Hills. The town has also led the way in continuing to process new and existing development applications. This has helped the economy continue to move forward. Additional examples include financial support through the Community Improvement Plan and Manufacturing Expansion Fund programs. The town is also developing supports focused on assisting the local arts and culture community. All of these measures will work together to help Halton Hills' economy recover as quickly as possible, be even stronger, and to position Halton Hills as a prime investment destination. Thank you for the opportunity to highlight some of the actions being taken by the town to support the business community. Please visit investhaltonhills.com and contact the Economic Development team if you need any more information. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Erin, and I'd like you to stay for a moment because I'm sure there's going to be some questions coming in, and I know that there are a few regarding how we're supporting our local businesses. So I'd ask the clerk if there's any questions and if you could read them.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening to residents who have joined us virtually this evening. We do have 3 questions directly connected to economic development. The first question, how is the town assisting small businesses?
Thank you. We do have about 70% of Halton Hills small businesses being 10 or fewer employees, and the impacts of COVID-19 can be expected to be pretty significant. To assist these businesses, the town has taken a number of proactive steps, including the property tax relief, and as well as forming the Economic Support and Recovery Task Force in collaboration with the Acton and Georgetown Downtown Associations and the Chamber of Halton Hills. We've also issued the business survey to gather the data from the local business impacts, and that information will be used to develop an effective recovery plan. Recognizing the challenge With commercial rent payments, the town has also issued a communication encouraging landlords and tenants to discuss alternative solutions. Earlier today, we heard the Prime Minister announce the Canada Emergency Commercial Rent Assistance Program to help small businesses cover their rents. And these are just some of the actions that we have taken to date.
Thank you, Erin. Our second question, thinking longer term and beyond COVID-19, what actions is the town taking to strengthen our economy?
Thank you for the question. So to be ready for when COVID-19 is behind us, we continue to develop a five-year economic development and tourism strategy. This strategy will be an actionable roadmap for the town and its partners to continue to diversify the local economy, create more local jobs, and attract non-residential assessment. We're also starting to implement the foreign direct investment strategy with which Council approved recently. Doing this will ensure that Halton Hills is competitive in the global marketplace and will attract new investment and jobs. Combine these two strategies will continue to position Halton Hills as a prime destination for investment.
Thank you. And our last question, how are you planning on getting visitors and shoppers back to downtown Georgetown and downtown Acton?
Thank you. Through the Economic Support and Recovery Task Force, we're working very closely with representatives from downtown Acton and Georgetown to look at the best practices and actions that we can take to get visitors and shoppers back to our downtowns. A key action that we are taking is developing a brand new tourism website. When launched, it will showcase the wealth of arts, culture, and tourism and unique shopping opportunities that are in our downtowns. A comprehensive marketing plan is also being developed so that Halton Hills is ready for when visitors and tourists return to spend their money in our downtowns.
Thank you very much, and I think we have some other questions for the two-person panel here. Thank you, Erin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And yes, we have a number of questions that were sent in by our residents. Our first question, when will testing for COVID-19 be expanded beyond just priority cases? People can have few to no symptoms and still be contagious. This is putting vulnerable people at risk. When?
Thank you very much for the question, and unfortunately, this is not within the town's jurisdiction, and it's something that the broader health system is responsible for. Now, this would exist at the provincial level and the medical officer of health, and they have a major role in this in encouraging the expansion of the testing. The town would like to see more testing, of course, but we also understand that it has to do with the capacity of the entire health system. More tests are being done, but again, this is something that the town is not involved in, but we'll continue to ask for more testing in our community.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And the next question is directed to you as well. Could you please clarify what outdoor spaces can be used right now? I understand you can go for a walk, but can you walk through a park or a schoolyard? Can you walk on trails in places like Hungry Hollow? Can family members play catch with a glove and ball, kick a soccer ball, throw a lacrosse ball in a public space such as a park or schoolyard if they practice physical distancing and use their own equipment? Can families play street hockey on the street in front of their homes? Please provide specific guidelines.
Thank you for the question, and this is one that I'm sure the councillors get asked and staff get asked and neighbors are asking each other. So the town, we've closed a lot of facilities as it is necessary for the town to take the steps to help encourage people not to congregate. As the guidelines that were set up by the MOH. And the guidelines, of course, are no more gatherings of 5 people 2 meters apart. We still are keeping our spaces open, available to the public to utilize. The space where family members could go for a walk. We need our exercise. Walk your dogs. Again, keep your dogs on a leash and pick up after them. However, We are attempting to discourage any activity that will result in anyone coming into close contact of 2 meters. These are pieces of legislation that has been brought in by the provincial government. We need to continue to flatten the curve and ask citizens to act as recommended by these protocols. We're not doing this to be mean. We're doing this to protect each other from each other. We ask you to not engage in any of the above activities that will that'll have everyone congregating. We're trying to avoid that. We have closed our parking lots to our fairgrounds, to Prospect Park, the Georgetown Fairgrounds, to Gellert, to avoid having social gathering. We don't want to be like some other municipalities that have baseball games and other soccer games and cricket games going on. We want to try to contain this virus. This virus is everywhere, and we want you to be as serious about it as the town is trying to be serious. But again, our parks are open for walking, jogging, at a distance, of course. And that's about all I can say on that. And again, our trails. And our trails, we get asked that about the trails as well. So again, social distancing and enjoy exercise when you can.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And our next question is directed to our Chief Administrative Officer, Brent Marshall. We love walking the Silver Creek Trail. However, in some areas, more specifically the boardwalks, it is impossible to pass people within less than 6 feet apart, unless you want to jump in the swamp. Is it safe to keep the trail open for the public?
Thanks, Suzanne, and thanks for the question. And there are some similarities to this question and the one the mayor just responded to. So at this point in time, the green spaces in parks, trails, ravines, and conservation areas that are not otherwise closed will remain open for walk-through access. But yes, individuals must maintain a safe physical distance of at least 2 meters apart. There are some challenges associated with that, as the mayor just explained. Ontario's provincial parks and the conservation areas remain closed. We understand that users of the trails may have to step off the trail when passing other users in order to maintain that social distance that we are continuing to make reference to, or may want to consider using the trails during off-peak hours, of course, reduce traffic. Trails are generally between 1.5 meters and 1 meters wide, so with both users stay to the far side or just off the trail, we are considering it to be feasible. Things are constantly being reviewed and addressed with the town, reviewing this with other municipalities, the provincial and federal government, and direction from them. So I think that what we're attempting to do is keep these green spaces, these parks, trails, et cetera, open as much as we possibly can. But of course, there's judgment required. And this has been a message that's been conveyed at the federal, provincial, and regional level for a number of weeks now, and the message is consistent. So hope that we can continue to enjoy these spaces, and everyone does so in a safe fashion. Thanks, Suzanne.
Thank you, Mr. Marshall. And our next question is from Heather. I am concerned with the recent large daily spikes in cases for Halton Hills. Is there any way we can get more information on these cases? As an example, are they in Georgetown? Is it community spread or isolated to specific situations and or locations? Is there any link to grocery shopping at this time? Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, thank you very much, Heather, and I hope you're staying well. And it's a very good question, and I addressed that a little bit at the very beginning. But I just want to say that the town is active and remaining with the most up-to-date information provided by our regional health system. However, at this time, we have no statistical information on the many cases in Halton Hills. But what I can tell you, and for yesterday, as I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the program, that we had a huge spike in it. But yesterday, the spike of confirmed and probable was 6 to 109, and today it was 1 added, so now it's 110. Does that mean we take a victory lap? No. What that tells us is to still be vigilant, because we don't know what tomorrow's numbers are going to be. But it is something that, again, the Minister of Health is not showing the various, whether how many cases are in Acton or how many are in Limehouse, Glen Williams, Norval, or Georgetown, because they want everybody to be vigilant. And as I mentioned earlier, we did have a large infections at the Mountain View residence, and we had one other one that seems to be controlled. Thank you very much for the question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And our next question is directed to Jane Diamante, our Commissioner of Corporate Services, who is joining us via teleconference this evening. It's from Tammy. It says, since this is starting to look like we're really going to be home and stay home for quite a while, do you think the library would consider delivering books to homes within Halton Hills community? I understand not opening the library to the public for obvious reasons, and for the same reasons perhaps not wanting to collect books that are currently signed out. But as a household with parents who are working in critical positions and an only child going a little bit stir-crazy during those working hours, it would be really, really lovely if we could get access to some of the physical books that are currently in the library's collection. With the economic uncertainty, we don't want to spend a lot of extra money on physical books and trying to find some options outside of those available digitally. Just a thought. Jane?
Yes, thank you, Suzanne. Hello, Tammy, and thank you for your question. On March 17, 2020, the province of Ontario declared a state of emergency to protect the public, and included in the list of non-essential establishments legally required to close were all public libraries. During the pandemic, the library staff are either working from home or have been placed on emergency leave. And while the public can access some of the library's collections, programs, and services virtually, we can't provide access to our physical collections, including the mailing of material, because library materials are not considered to be a necessary good, service, or resource as defined by the Provincial Emergency Management Act. Now, residents can access our online resources by visiting our Library from Home website page or the Things to Do page. And thanks again for your inquiry. Stay well.
Thank you very much, Jane. And our next question is for the Mayor. I have a parking exemption for April 11th for a specific address in Georgetown that I wish to cancel. How do I proceed?
Thank you, Ron, for your question, and I'm sure you're not the only person who's thinking about this. So, Ron, what I can tell you, you can simply call the parking enforcement line at 905-873-2601 and dial extension 2330. And Kelly Withers, our enforcement coordinator, will clear the exemption for you if you are no longer needing it. Kelly does not answer the call. Please leave a voicemail for her and her name, address, vehicle, plate number, and the date of your exemption. And again, thanks again for contacting us, and stay well.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I also have another question for you. Can I prepare meals from my home and leave them on my porch for friends to pick up? This would be all no contact and just my family preparing the meals.
That's a very kind thing you're thinking about doing, and absolutely yes. If you leave it on the porch and there's no, everybody keeping their physical distance and nobody's touching, yeah, by all means, that can be done. And I'm sure your friends or your family members that you're cooking for would be very grateful to have a home-cooked meal. Thank you.
Our next question is for our Chief Administrative Officer. Please advise if the Building and Planning Services are still providing full services for current ongoing construction projects. Brent?
Thanks, Suzanne, and thanks, Jackie, for the inquiry. We have remained open for business, if I can put it that way, since the the onset of the pandemic. So the town's Building and Engineering Services Department is still providing the same access, the same opportunities for building permit applications, development applications from our development community, and we've found a way to continue to do business by interested parties making a call to our building services group. Just call 873-2601, extension 2300. And staff are available and will respond to any inquiries. Even though the province has made some distinctions and created some limitations for those projects that can move forward over the past week or so, we're still encouraging those applications to be brought forward so that we can process them and have them ready and out the door, and hopefully boots on the ground whenever the opportunity provides. So the doors have never closed, or the opportunities have not ended, and we encourage you to continue to contact our building services group. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Brent, and I'll direct the next question to you as well. Does the municipality of Halton Hills consider landscape maintenance as essential service? The Ontario's essential list is vague on this issue. Can we do spring cleanups for private residences? I have clients who are getting insistent and I may lose them, but I don't want to be fined either. Thank you. Grace Garden, Grace's Plantscapes.
So thanks, Grace. Great question, and it is an interesting question, and it's one that's been discussed with our counterparts in other area municipalities. We've attempted to get clarification from the province, and so far, not a lot of support there. We're of the opinion clearly that it is fair game. It is an opportunity that we all should pursue. We are continuing to maintain our green spaces. We know that private sector groups like golf courses, et cetera, are continuing to maintain their properties. We consider it to be part of the state of good repair and maintenance list of the essential programs. So same question has been asked by a number of people. You will not be fined, you will not be challenged by our bylaw enforcement officers, and other municipalities within this region are approaching the issue in the same fashion. So we encourage that work to be done. And we hope that the clarification that we're all seeking will come forward soon. But from a Halton Hills perspective, you're on safe ground when you're maintaining your property in our town. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Brent. And Mr. Mayor, our final question I'll direct to you. The virus numbers keep jumping. 2 retirement homes are infected. How many COVID-19 patients are in our Georgetown Hospital now? Are staff coping? Do they have enough masks and protective gear? Do they foresee being deluged and unable to serve all patients? How are they doing at the Bennett and extended care?
That's a very good question. It's one that can be changing all the time, but I would say that we do have enough masks, PPE, not enough, but they're doing sufficient, as was the message from our Georgetown Hospital earlier this evening. But I can tell you about the homes that we have, homes for the vulnerable. Our long-term care is that, if you recall, I hope we all do, because that was a lesson learned and we did very well, and that was the ice storm of 2013. At that time, our fire department, they set up a protocol that they contacted every vulnerable home, long-term care, senior facility in town. And here we are 7 years later, our fire department are contacting each and every one of them daily. So they can get reports and they can find out if, what their needs are. So it is something that I'm very pleased with our fire department. We thank them for that protocol. As I said, a lesson learned from 2013, and they're still doing it today. And I will say that Dr. Nadia Alum and myself and a few volunteers, we are continually collecting different gloves. I mentioned last week the Superior Glove have made all kinds of health gloves that are approved, thousands of them. We have over 90 families between Georgetown, Acton, and Rockwood that are producing gowns. We're getting gloves dropped off. We're getting masks dropped off from various organizations in town. That's all being collected, and it's being distributed to as many of the facilities that we can, and local family doctors, et cetera, et cetera. So we're doing the best we can. Under the circumstances, and as we speak today, there's no immediate shortfall, but like I said, that can change. That can change by next week. But people are very generous. They're giving, and again, all of the vulnerable homes and long-term cares are being checked every day by our fire department. Thank you for the question and your concern.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. And Mr. Mayor, I'll turn it over to you for closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Suzanne. And just before I give all my closing remarks, I want to thank members of the public who have contacted myself and members of the council and even want to know how we're doing. Well, we're doing as fine as we can, and our staff. We're all trying to work together. And it's a time of crisis that we celebrate the positive. And you're saying, well, how could there be anything positive? Well, I'd like to give you some examples. Last Sunday, Easter Sunday, on the 6th line, Councillor Lewis and neighbors arranged for a drive-by of our EMS, police, and they raised a lot of items for the local food bank. We've had, as I touched on earlier, the protective equipment, personal protective equipment drive that we've been having, and the gowns, another positive thing. I know people doing, in my neighborhood, they had a food drive, and I forget how many pounds of food they raised for the food banks, and people are still, and we can't leave these people out on the food banks, so that's great. But the biggest one was last Monday. A former neighbor of mine, and anybody from Acton knows her, Dorothy Ruggleson, turned 102 years old. You can imagine, in this pandemic, and there's Dorothy, and we had a drive-by at the Legion Apartments, and we had 69 vehicles, including police and the school bus. And I thought that was wonderful and a tribute to Dorothy, and I know she's extremely thrilled that the community remembered her. But what we have to do, we still have to stop the spread. We have to remember that this is a new normal, and we're all adjusting every day. And I know some of your small kids must be, how are we going to get through this? But we can get through this together. We're all in this together. So remember, your safety is our chief concern, and stopping the spread of this virus is everyone's responsibility. It's everyone's responsibility. So again, these steps, and you heard it right from day one back in early March. Wash your hands often. And as Cindy McDonald, who from our hospital said tonight in her signed off her letter, wash your hands often, then wash them again. Sneeze and cough into your sleeve. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, or mouth, and that's probably one of the hardest things I'm trying to get through in this new normal, to be honest with you. Avoid contact with people who are sick. Stay at home as much as possible. And if you must be out, practice the safe physical distancing of 2 meters, or as I showed earlier, 1 hockey stick for our Canadian culture. Finally, I want to remind you to please stay connected. And there are people in our community that you may know that may be vulnerable, or they may be a senior that aren't belonging to any clubs. If you know their phone numbers, reach out to them. They'd love to hear from you. I know of many of the counselors are making calls, and I'm making calls, and if you know of anybody that is vulnerable, check up on them. We're all one community, and this is what we want to be, and this is where community comes together. There's also other ways you can stay connected. And that is, there's a number of communication channels the town offers to keep you informed. And they include haltonhills.ca, go on the website, and the town's website has messages from myself and videos updated, links to other information sources, new releases, and the Let's Talk haltonhills.ca to share thoughts and hear from others and ask the town questions. Because I know a lot of people don't ask each other questions. If you want to go to the source, you come to our town site, and we'll be pleased to answer as many questions that we possibly can. And lastly, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. I hope you found it very informative. And I'd like to thank our Chief Administrator Officer and our special guest, Aaron, for being here tonight. And everybody, stay safe. Remember, the weather forecast looks very promising on the weekend. So avoid the public gatherings. Try to stay the 2 meters, and we'll get through this. I believe we really can. So again, good night. I hope you found it informative. Stay safe, and thank you for tuning in. Good night.